Well, welcome everybody. We are here for yet another fantastic episode, and we're literally here. We're like here together in the same room. It's about time. We're so grateful.
We made it.
That's right. We are continuing to celebrate her story here in March, Women's History Month. And so our fun film that we're going to focus on today is Sister Act. We love Sister Act. Whoopi Goldberg. We've already done a film with her. Clearly we love her. And Maggie Smith, the amazing Maggie Smith that we grew up with and just love and adore. And it is just kind of the perfect story to talk about the way women can support women in a really positive way. Yeah. One of the things I do love about this story is I feel like it really highlights what a costume can do, not just kind of for your own behavior, but to other people's behavior and the way they treat you. Because we do have a couple times, we have at one point, Whoopi just needs a little outlet, needs a little freedom. She goes across the street to the bar, kind of at least in the middle of the night for the rest of the nuns. And the way that it affects everyone else's behavior inside of that bar. And then, of course, we get it again as we get to the end of the film and they're inside the casino, and the way that everyone kind of treats them. The two little lackeys, the little sidekicks to the main villain, literally refuse to, to take care of it.
Yes.
Because she's in this costume, and there's part of them that really does wonder if that did create a stronger religious affiliation and it just being a disguise. So that is one of my favorite moments in that film, because of course, as a costumer, I know how important costumes can be. They might seem silly and superficial on the surface, but I've learned in my career, they actually are very crucial to being able to affect the performance and the abilities of our performers and how powerful our storytelling can be for us as audience members. But yeah, just a really great, they get kind of the double entendre going on in there, a sister and a sister. They had Lady Soul did such a fun music video. I feel like this was about the era when that started to be a thing, that a music video was added to some of the marketing efforts, where they took tiny little clips from the film and then they made a music video about it. And of course, this is a film completely centered on music.
The days of MTV and VH1,
the days
though.
of
You know what I mean? The glory days of when music videos were actually on all the time. Yeah.
So they made a whole song called When My Sister's in Trouble. And that really, for me, I think one of the biggest takeaways from this film is that it is such a positive example of women supporting women. The nuns they're okay, but they're kind of struggling and suffering in their own way. Dolores tries to defend how much better her life was before she gets to the convent and how much happier she was. And of course, Maggie Smith, as the Reverend Mother, looks right at her and says, "Really? You really think your life was happier?" And she basically gives her a little running bullet pointed list of here are the things that your life structure was before you got here. Do you truly believe that you were happier? Do you truly believe that your life was better? And Dolores doesn't really have a response. She's able to have her very early bedtime that she's not ready for. She clearly stays up and does some reflection for the next 6-7 hours before she falls asleep by the time we see her in the next scene. So we really get to see throughout this film that while the nuns are doing okay, there's also so much room for growth and elevation that they need, just like Dolores needs it. And so that whole When My Sister's in Trouble and the fact that they're able to come together and help each other really is so huge. It's one of my favorite things about this film, that you get to watch that growth together from all the characters.
Yes, because community is such a message in it in so many levels, because one, we go from Whoopi Goldberg and her two backup singers as friends to she's in this convent and it's full of women and they're from all sorts of different backgrounds and they have all sorts of different stories and paths and journeys that led them there. I also love Kathy Najimy's character so much because it does kind of, she embraces the fact that she's I'm always kind of quirky and optimistic, and I was like, same girl, same.
She's just being her little authentic self, and that became the safe place for her to be her authentic self. Yeah, I think we can all kind of connect to that when you feel like you're just a little bit weird, just a little bit of an oddball. So where do you fit in? Who's your tribe? Where can you find a good, safe place where you can be yourself and connect with other people? So she kind of found that there. And then Whoopi Goldberg, Dolores, comes in and takes it kind of to the next level, where it's even more fulfilling for her. Right. And then Mary Roberts is the kind of the opposite, where her authentic self is oftentimes very timid and very
Mm-hmm.
afraid. And she even has the line of, I always feel like everyone else is catching on to things just a little bit faster and better than me.
Mm-hmm.
And so for her, choosing the convent felt safe and comfortable with what she's dealing with and what she's navigating. And then again, here comes Dolores to take her in that comfort zone and then elevate it to that next place where she actually does get pulled out of herself just a little bit. So she finds that perfect little sweet spot for her of being able to
Right.
be comfortable but also grow and progress. And so, oh gosh, I love this movie. It's
Yeah,
so good.
and it's a very literal presentation because once Whoopi Goldberg's character gets kind of assigned the choir and she walks in
Mm,
and you're hearing all of the off key notes that obviously had to be staged because the ladies have amazing voices and are very talented, but she comes in and you can tell that it is the timid. And so essentially Dolores has to normalize being extroverted, but also just normalize the idea that as she's conducting the choir on Sunday, she is very physical about it, right? Like she is normalizing it's okay to get into the music. And so the irony of the fact that we just did Sinners, and this
yeah.
is a very interesting reflection of that similar theme and message that music connects us because it
Yes.
does. And that idea
Yes.
that she was able to use modern music to connect, and then how it reaches out into the community. And I love how we get those street views from the outside and we're
Yes.
hearing the music and people
Didn't
are
you see
like,
you pulled him right
what
in
is
off
going
the
on?
street?
Right.
Yeah.
And especially that's going to be a huge contrast if they're just used to in that area hearing the normal choir on Sundays, and all of a sudden you're hearing like very lively um, conviction with the singing, right? And I think it did take that for Mary Roberts to actually come out, which I adore. I adore the fact that singing often helps people find that voice, because I just had a real life moment with that, with a coworker who, it's interesting because I often realize that, and I'll say it to people like it's my theater degree, it's my
Yeah.
bachelor's degree,
Yeah. It's that
because
background in performance.
we were forced to have to break out of bubbles. And
Oh
even
my
as a
gosh.
stage manager, I was forced to have to accept that I was going to be expected to talk often in front of large groups of people.
Mm-hmm.
And they did it in multiple ways because we had to take acting one, which
Oh,
was
heavens.
like,
And you could tell all the tech kids were over on the one side of the classroom and all the actual performance majors were on the other. And we were all looking at each other like, what have we gotten ourselves into? And it was very smart. It was smart of the professors to structure it that way, because it was the idea that we are involved in a very collaborative process and you need to understand and respect what each other team member is putting into that process. So even though it was very uncomfortable, very grateful for the experience, because it did. It grows your respect for that. Kind of like what happened with Mary Roberts.
but it's so funny because I feel like, I mean, at least me, and I know most of us, we already had a love for performance art, whether it was film or theater,
Or
and
backstage
being
person or
involved,
onstage person.
right? And we knew we were backstage people, that
Yeah.
we didn't feel like, I don't have to go through an acting class to respect actors, right? But it's also the flip side of the coin. The actors had to take stagecraft to an extent. They had to do scene shop hours or costume shop hours.
Yep.
That's how Jesse Lenoir did his costume shop time,
and then later was on Project Runway.
On Project Runway. And so the reality that these things that they built into the structure of our degrees actually were very very well done and well thought through at the time. What's up, UCF? But that idea of they did it so that we would respect actors, but a lot of times these things ended up influencing us and impacting us and inspiring us in completely different ways and realms, right? The idea that I'm not even in theater anymore, but it still comes into play,
are still utilized
all the time, right?
Yeah.
Because
they're life skills.
Literally in psychology and mental health, it's so funny because I was just saying it to someone the other day, the empty chair technique, where someone is supposed to act out what they would want to say to someone that they haven't felt safe saying it to, that's an acting exercise. And there's so many different things within my world that feel like acting exercises. And I'm like, yeah, guys, let's get up and do this. And I wouldn't have that if I hadn't had my theater degree. And it was funny because even in intro to counseling, my one of my favorite professors, Dr. Blount, she made everybody stand up. And I was so used to this from my bachelor's, but you're talking like some of these, they were kids to me, but I was one of the older students. But so like younger, like 22, because they just got their bachelor's degree, they had like business degrees. They had never had to be in someone's personal space. And she was trying to help do exactly that same thing and break that self-conscious bubble. And so luckily one of my favorites, Jess and I paired up for it, but she made us stand in two opposite lines and keep decreasing the space between until we felt uncomfortable and we had to stop. And I just sat there and like Jess and I literally got like nose to nose and I was like, what's up, boo? You know, like, but luckily she knew me enough and like felt comfortable with me enough that she knew like I adore her. So like I wasn't going to do anything to her that would make her feel uncomfortable. And we were just getting through the exercise. But we did. We got about nose to nose almost, you know, like that.
Because that is about as close as you can get.
It's about as close as you can
physically
get.
Touching.
And that's why it's always funny when I see in movies like that, the bluffing, especially with comedians. Guys love getting nose to nose and then
like in Hitch. I go 90, you go 10.
It's so funny. But so the idea that that's what Dolores was essentially doing for these ladies, and she saw it as she was the performer, and so she was she had that background, she had that ability, and some of these ladies had never had that exposure in their life. So because we even production meetings, we had to do them as students, and they were filled with faculty and staff. And,
they
we had to hold our own, and
we were little 18-year-old babies.
But so they did. They threw us into the fire, and it helped because now I see it, and I'm just like, oh, I feel like my colleague needs a little bit of a like. I need to be Whoopi Goldberg and go up and shake their diaphragm so that they can project to this room full of psychiatric residential care children who are already a little ADHD, you know? And so it's like, we have to be a little bit, so we have to be the Dolores who's sitting there conducting with her whole body.
Well, and the Mary Roberts scene, I totally agree. I actually connected that as well. You know, my experience, I know we were both technically backstage people. You were stage management. I was design tech. And, you know, I've had people ask me a lot, how did I get into costuming? And honestly, I usually do it's funny because I literally didn't go to school to get into costuming. I went to school to get into scenic design. That was my passion at 18 years old. That's what I thought I was going to do, was design sets. And I wind up giving acknowledgement to my professors from that chapter of our life all the time. I said, you know, because again, we had to take the class with everything. We had to take at least one sound, at least one. And that was when I went, sound is so hard. Guys, when you hear good sound in a film or video, you are witnessing like literal magic, because sound is so hard. One semester I was like, nope, I will stick to props and scenic and costume. But when I did my costume, the required coursework for that, I had a grandma that was so awesome and taught me sewing growing up. So it was always just this hobby. I never saw it as something that was going to become a career. But my professor saw something inside of me that I did not see. And through the coursework and through their confidence in me and through them kind of helping guide until I finally opened my eyes and could see what I was capable of. I mean, my other thing is that I thought I was going into theater to have this little chapter of my life that was just like, I'm gonna have fun doing this thing for this little tiny little window of time. And then I thought I was like destined to be this stay-at-home mom and raise babies. And that was not what my journey was going to be. And so I was actually developing skills that I had no idea at that time were going to be lending to kind of my future career path. And that's, again, like I love seeing that kind of mirrored, or kind of, you know, that example of that in this film. I feel a connection to watching Dolores share her talent and skills with these nuns, because I feel like I had a lot of similar experiences where I could have easily stayed in a very small little world And instead, I had some wonderful professors and also friends who could see in me that what I couldn't see at first. And that's really what we can take away from this film is how can we help to motivate and inspire and elevate the people around us. Dolores went in there just to try to not die. That was literally her whole
Survival
goal. It was like she resisted, she did not want to do it, but the idea of dying was enough to get her to stay. She had no idea she was walking into that convent to help other people and then be transformed herself. And I think that's another thing I really love about this film is that so often we can be in a situation where it just feels like everything has fallen apart and everything is the worst. And I can't believe how terrible that all of this is. And we have no idea that we're actually experiencing something that is going to make our lives better. So I feel like that is another takeaway we can get from this film of sometimes when we're going through something awful, we all just need to like take a beat and just like look at like what can I gain from this, what can I help with the people around me in this. And that doesn't mean it's going to be easy, and it doesn't mean there's not going to be moments where you still just want to break down or you just need like 20 minutes of crying before you go out the door in the morning. All of those things are okay. That is okay if you can't have a perfectly positive perspective through challenging times.
So okay. You have no idea. Okay. Now that I'm in mental health and I'm a counselor, like I can't tell you how often we literally just go into each other's office to cry for a few minutes and then be like, all right, cool.
It's
here
like
we go. We're doing this again.
Like he just needed his candy tears and then he could keep trying to get back to headquarters. We all need our bing bong candy tear moment. Just for a second, as Joy learned at that moment of like, oh, there is value in sadness. There's value in processing this and taking time. So definitely take the time. I'm not here to preach toxic positivity. That's not what I'm saying. But this film can remind us that sometimes when we're going through hard things, what is actually happening is being on a journey that's leading us to better things. So I appreciate that about this film as well. I feel like there's just some really good motivation and inspiration with that.
And I think you identified a very interesting situation because, you know, like she walks into the choir and she sees Kathy Najimy, who is projecting for like years and years. You can hear her across oceans. Yeah.
Dolphins can hear her and that's it.
But then Mary Roberts on the other hand, and so she's literally taking the two and balancing them out, but also how she saw the talent and she's in that other people might think was unruly, like just too much to be able to rein in, and she was able to rein it in, which also shows
in a positive way,
positive leadership, like amazing positive leadership. But
we all want to be closer to God, but maybe not like that.
Like
maybe like this,
right? Not that close. Let's bring it back down a
your
little.
Voice, maybe other ways.
But that reality of it's so funny how you say that because I feel like you were so very talented, and maybe it's because stage manager and I was not a design tech because I know the design tech kids typically came in, they all had their different areas, their different fields, but they were
organized,
all very
time management.
They were creative, they were artsy, and it was, I mean, there was a professor who even tried to compare us to you guys, and we were like, hi. We were not those people.
It takes a village.
We liked hiding in the dark. Like, I don't know if you didn't catch that about what we do. We hide in the dark.
Chose a career where we wear all blacks and literally try not to be seen by anyone.
Not to be noticed. Hi, thank you. We don't want the attention. We're
not
trying.
Crew is part of that too, but yes.
And I'm not going to claim that I know how to draw. I'm not going to claim that I understand any of this stuff right now. Like, I mean, lighting, cool. Like, I can wing that but you know, rendering, dear Jesus. So not to bring it back to Sister Act with Jesus, but anyways, the point is that, yes, pun intended. But that reality of like, so the outside perception, because girl, I would have never thought that you didn't think you would have been good at costumes, like ever. And that's what's so funny and interesting.
I saw it as fashion, and I didn't feel like I could really come up with good new ideas. But in costuming, you are taking costume history, you are taking script and character analysis, and you are saying, what would that person wear in this situation of the story we're telling? And whatever it was about that combo, my brain worked that way. And it's why we're doing these videos. I am the biggest geek for character analysis, script analysis, when a story is strong. I like off the deep end geek for all of that stuff. And that flipped for me.
You're not a
And I would
fun
have never seen
ruiner,
that.
right? Like, it's not like but she is that person who's like, that's not period. And I love it. I love it, love it, love it. The flip side of the coin is my dad being military is like, that's not how that would have happened in war movies.
Well,
I'm like,
that's understandable.
Dad, that's drama. We get this.
Yeah.
But it's funny how they're the people who live in those worlds and those bubbles and those realms, and then in the film presentation are like, that's not how that. Especially now it's with psychology represented, and it's very. I'm like, that's not how that works. You can't do that. They wouldn't be talking outside of session.
Once I started that program, my mom was constantly doing the "What do you think about that costume?" when I'd come home from college, and it was when the Superman show was out, Smallville. It was when Smallville was out.
Because I was like Lois and Clark, or what was that?
Lois and Clark was just a little before that.
Okay,
just a little bit before that. But Smallville, and I didn't really watch. I mean, honestly, I barely watched TV in college. Yeah. We were so busy. We were literally always at school.
Smallville, pretty much. Like, I have friends obsessed with it, and I was like,
if it was a show that came out during that era, I kind of miss it. But I would see an episode, and it was some episode where I think Lana had some like spell or power. Something happened where she all of a sudden became this like super like salty, spicy, sexy girl. And I said to my mom as she asked that question, I'm like, well, she's all in black, which is kind of weird because she's in like passion mode.
Yeah.
I would actually expect her to be in red. And then like next scene, she kind of strips all the black off and she's in this whole red thing underneath. I was like, oh, there you go.
And that's actually like color psychology, right? Yeah. Which is, I mean, in theater, we learn that for lighting and costuming. And it's so interesting how that's a thing that I also love. I just have to say, it's so much more fun to do this in real time.
I was just about to say this is so much better than a Zoom call that's constantly dropping one or both of our sides.
Yes, because Zoom could only handle one of us at a time, and we were like, I mean, fair. I can only handle one of us at a time, but that's
the world can only handle one of us
at a time.
Even though we're putting this out into the world with both of us. Good luck, world. We love you.
I remember when the tech boys, when we would like see each other after a break, we would be like hugging and just. And
the boys would be like, "All right, guys.
Yeah,
all right,
she's
ladies.
Like, they were like, dolphins can hear you. Calm down. And it's like, but it's Deborah, guys. Like, what am I? What? Yes.
It's so kind of like what we did to Disney Springs yesterday. All of us coming together. But we haven't seen each other in like a year and a half.
It's been a whole weekend, guys. Stop it.
It's true. I mean, let's be real.
Yes, some of our weekends were rough, but that's okay. Yeah. Anyways.
So you got to midterms and it was like, I actually need a break first.
We would not, and then we'd not see each other like we lived in caves or something.
Well, yeah, because like our projects were so time consuming.
Yeah, or
guys,
you're
in film takes a lot of time.
I'm in show. Sorry. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Sorry, I'm in tech week. Sorry, I'm in show mode. That just became the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Show love to your storytellers. They put a lot of love and passion into it.
It's a very interesting life and gig, but that's also super fun about Sister Act because I love how it evolves from. They do integrate into the community and the neighborhood around them in all these different ways. And then that's how I love the detective is like, I'm going to kill her myself when he sees her on the news.
She's hiding behind the baby. She's like, whoops, I'm supposed to be in hiding.
Because of her personality coming into that dynamic, which Maggie Smith was to be fair, she was a little gatekeepy, but she also identified the outfit doesn't keep them safe. This building keeps them safe, which is fair.
There's a lot of like caution, safety mode, mama bear, protective mama bear.
And considering where Dolores came from, that's a very relevant concept. Like, you were here because you needed safety and protection. Mm-hmm. If you leave this place, I cannot guarantee that. Mm-hmm. And so she was in that very mother superior, but appropriately mama bear mode of, it's my responsibility to keep them safe, and you are compromising that in ways that there are uncertainties I can't predict, which in the end, that big climactic scene, and then Maggie Smith actually thanks her for the adventure and putting them in that, but to be fair, growth, right? Because with Dolores, with that experience, every single one of them grew in some way, shape, or form, and that's also the crying.
Yeah.
A lot of times growth comes with tears. A lot of times
Yeah.
growth comes with fear. It comes with
Mm-hmm.
anxiety because there are things you are expanding your comfort bubble, which
Mm-hmm. That's the only way you can grow.
and that's what Dolores brings in. She brings in the yes, I don't fit into this bubble. So
Yeah.
she helped expand the bubble into a safe way that actually helped them reintegrate into the community and bring in a fresh population into the church, because that's
Yeah.
often a situation that churches kind of run into. And I mean,
Yeah. Dwindling
historically
attendance. Yeah.
speaking, like there are all sorts of revivals that have occurred throughout
Yeah.
history, and but I mean on the local level, that's something that churches have to look at all the time too, is
Yeah.
that idea of how do we maintain, especially in our current society and world with all the divisiveness, how do we maintain that connection? But to be honest, as a mental health professional, unfortunately, churches are some of the only real community centers that are out there.
Yeah.
And it only is unfortunate because there are a lot of people who have experienced some sort of negativity or trauma
Yeah.
through people who call themselves religious. And so
Yeah.
it does end up affecting the people who feel safe going to church,
That
which
is
is
unfortunately true.
as a mental health professional. And so that's a hard part, trying to tell people like, well, have you tried going to a church or have you done this? But also churches often are, which I love and adore, they're safe places that offer their space
Yeah.
without rent for like substance abuse groups,
Yeah.
AA and NA, classically community centers and churches. So
Yeah.
it's um it's a very double-edged sword, but the idea of what Jesus actually was about versus what some people
Love. Literally love.
utilize Jesus and the Bible for can be two completely different things. And so I think that even Dolores, who was like, oh, hell no, and how
Yeah.
that script flips. And I think that that's a great
Yeah.
representation of religion, of society and religion, of the self-consciousness of feeling like a sinner, not to bring it back and tie it,
That
but
we clearly
hey,
love that movie so
what's
much.
up, Mr. Kugler? Like,
We
let's
loved your movie so much.
we thank you so
Thanks for
much.
putting that in the world.
Yes.
Oh, we love you for it.
But I mean, yeah, so in great time period.
Yes, early 90s when they're
Yeah.
out on the street and you get to see all those costume
But
clothes.
yes.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it would be technically considered a costume because wardrobe would have helped put all that together. But so epic. Love that.
If that was
capsule.
done today, which not to spoil, but apparently there's supposed to be a third installment coming out. And when I looked at it, it's pre-production, very pre, it looks like, but it has Kiki and Whoopi listed. Obviously, we've lost Maggie Smith, but Kiki Palmer, I think, is a good call for that.
She
is
brilliant. I'm
so
excited.
But she's also, I mean, not she's literally and figuratively very vocal in the community and in the world and society and advocating for things. And so I think that's a good call. I'm here for it. I love her. I love Nope. Nope is one of my favorites.
Gosh, I will admit I haven't seen that one. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the poster was a horse floating in the sky.
Okay.
And I had like a panic moment in the movie theater on my way to watch whatever I was watching when I saw that poster the first time. And I was like, wait, I can't watch this movie because what if the horse is suffering? Not really, because filmmakers are amazing about making sure that animals never suffer ever. They are probably the best in the entire world about making sure animals never suffer. But the poster just made me go, I can't. But I'm also like, I'm a cat lady. I've got my fur babies and I'm overprotective. So it's coming from crazy
apparently
lady.
That's going on the list because one, Jordan Peele, but two, exactly what you just talked about. That's a whole entire plot point in it. But three, Kiki Palmer's amazing. I love the whole entire movie. But I love Jordan Peele. I'm a nerd. So, but that is one of my favorite Jordan Peele's. Get Out was amazing.
I've heard that one's good. I will say the one thing I have seen from Nope is I have seen the set live, like in person, because every time. It's not as cool as you're maybe thinking. I did not get to work on anything like that for film work, but I was working on some costumes, going to get fabric in the LA Fabric District, and took a day and I did the Universal Studios lot tour, and they had just added, because of course they had just wrapped Nope when I was there for fabric shopping that time. And so they had like the whole set laid out. So the bus went right through it. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. I might not have seen the movie, but it's still so cool to see like the whole production, not the whole production design, but large pieces of production design that are now part, at least at that time, were part of the studio tour. Maybe they've taken it down. So, and actually, speaking of like 100%. Churches as like a third space and a community space, I'll go ahead and put a plug in right here of movie theaters as well, which is what we're trying to get relaunched at Maven Cinemas, and just create a space where people can come together. They can unite over our shared geekness of storytelling and film history. So yeah, I do agree with you. Those spaces are really important. And when church can be a safe space for that, it can be very positive, like we see in this film. Yeah. And hopefully we can continue to work hard to have it not have the adverse effect. Like you said, there are a lot of people who have had the opposite of the intended experience there, for sure.
And I've told you this multiple times, space or not, you are Maven Cinemas. So, and that's one of the glories of film too, because we were just watching Bob's Burgers, which we're going to tie in later. But there's an episode where they do a drive-in movie theater and it's closing, and Bob's like, no, we have to make it stay open. And she's like,
they do a GoFundMe.
She's like, when's the last time you came? So it's poignant, it's relevant, because we love these things real. For the sentimentality, but the reality of the people who are trying to run them, it's like, if nobody's showing, that's not a business.
Exhibitors, that's also an insane amount of work, just as much as the producers of the story.
Right. Yeah. But having access
to watch movies in a theater.
But for real. But the fact that we can make a theater anywhere, right? Yeah. That's what drive-ins proved, is that the theater movies are so uniting, and it's because it touches on our humanity in such a bigger picture way. And I use that all the time in therapy too. But I use the idea of zooming out quite often when I talk to clients, because a lot of times we catastrophize, and the idea of catastrophization is, as my inmates used to say, mountain out of a molehill is the easy way to consider catastrophization. But that idea that we're making something way bigger of a problem than it is, especially in the moment, and that we probably don't have access to to problem solving on that level. So you got to breathe and just get through it. So I'll often say, cool, I need you to stop, breathe, zoom out. Which DBT has a stop skill that's literally stop, take a step back, observe your surroundings, proceed mindfully. It's the same thing. It's all about decatastrophization. But so I use the film concept of let's take a zoom out. Because right now you're way up in the zoom in on this problem. It's not that deep. Let's zoom out. Let's see the big picture. Let's remember that there's a lot of other things going on. We have a lot of positive things, and it is. So I use that imagery because film is such a big thing. It's relatable. Everybody understands it. Everybody has a movie that they love, other than maybe the Amish. Sorry, not sorry. But
they're allowed to make that choice.
Yeah, they're allowed to make that. I'm sure they have stories though. They have stories that they love.
They are still great storytellers. Yeah.
We're gonna include the Amish because we're inclusive,
and we are focused on a film that's focused on religion.
Yes.
At least to a certain extent.
To an extent.
Yep.
And so, but yes, you can make a theater out of just about anywhere, and I think that's important. I think storytelling is important. They can always do theater, the Amish. They just can't have movies because technology. So
but they can't have any costumes with any trim. So
interesting.
That would be hard for me.
I love you so much that you know that, because I'm just
they can't have fancy buttons or anything.
Okay.
Nothing. It's like the nun habits and what we see in this film. They cannot have anything that's going to detract them from being focused on what they feel is the most important thing, and to create any feelings of separation or other, oh, you have a better outfit than me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's why schools have uniforms.
Literally.
It's the same kind of idea. Yep. We're trying to, avoid the potential of creating toxic or negative behaviors and
right.
patterns.
Taking out that superficial,
Yeah.
elitist status concept.
Yeah.
It's totally different conversation for another time.
It's true. But it does take it back to what I said in the beginning. Costumes are powerful, and they not only affect the behavior of the person wearing them, but the people around them.
because they're a form
Go
of
to a Comic-Con.
self-expression.
Yeah, go to your local con and you'll see it. Which
we're going to do next
we're doing next
weekend.
weekend. We've got so much to share with you there. But I love, one of my favorite things is the costumes like unite people. How many times you see someone be like, oh, I love your costume. Can we take a picture together? I just think that's so beautiful.
I will never be a cosplayer. Like, I'm low-key, no offense. It's just, right now, I don't have the time. Like, maybe later in life, but then I'll be so much older that I'll have to be the old version of whatever character. So, but that reality of, yeah, I am the nerd that's just like, oh my gosh, that's so clever. There was one of my favorite cosplays ever was a mashup, and it was Mary Poppins and what's his name from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh my gosh, Star-Lord?
No, the dad, the Mohawk. The dad.
Oh, Yondu.
Yes. It was adorable because he was like,
oh, you look like Mary Poppins right now. And he's like, is he cool?
Is he cool?
And Star-Lord is like,
yeah,
he's cool. He's like, cool. I'm going to give him
we're not going to.
He's cool.
Yep. Love it.
Yay.
So
amazing. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us once again. We are so excited to, like we said, celebrate her story and be in this Women's History Month and all the fabulous stories that we can go over. Oh my goodness, too many to actually cover, but we love this one, Sister Act. There's so many amazing moments in it, and we didn't really talk about it, but Sister Act 2 is also incredible, and it shines a lovely spotlight also on educators who, guys, they are also some of the hardest working people in our country. So go watch number 1, go watch number 2, get ready because they're working on number 3, and, you know, drop a comment. We'd love to hear from you. You know, what did you think about this film? Do you like the first one more than the second? What other movies do you want to see from us? But yeah, we're just so thrilled to be in person doing this together. And we just know we're just going to have many more amazing episodes for you guys because of this.
So fun. Thank you guys so much. Let us know what you think, what else you'd want us to see, just like how I'm going to force her to watch Jordan Peele movies now because we're together. And as
long as I've got a shoulder to hide in, I'm good. I love it. But I've got the best shoulder to hide in.
Yes, exactly. Because we're going to be laughing the whole entire time because I'm going to be like, realize that Jordan Peele dreamt this up while he was probably sitting on a couch watching movies or like laughing with Key because dear God, I love those two men. Anyways, all
Great duo. Amazing duo.
Amazing duos. All right.
Amazing. Thank you guys. We'll see you next time.